Kansas City.
And welcome to yet another Saturday edition of Kingdom Kickoff. I once saw a movie directed by Oliver Stone called Any Given Sunday, but here in Chiefs Kingdom, it might as well be just any given Saturday. And thanks to the healing power of prayer and community and support for Damar Hamlin, we're able to focus on football today. And for that, all of us here are thankful that we can go and focus on the games and to see what happens here. Because of what happened on Monday, we were able to do this thanks to nothing but positive steps ever since then, guys. It's great to be here with all of you as we were talking Chiefs and Raiders. And guys, it's just a good thing that we can talk about football today and have it mean something. And that means that there's good news on the Damar Hamlin front.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah, without a doubt, guys. I mean, I think all of us were in a state of shock, literally, when the young man collapsed on the field. Now, not to be jokingly, I've collapsed after running gassers, but never have reached a point on that. So that's amazing to me, just simply all the medical people that are involved. But also, hats off to all the Buffalo fans, all the Buffalo people there. Yeah, listen, my younger brother played for the Bills. And to go with that whole town had to go through and live through that for a few days. Hey, you're in our prayers. Young man came through. Shows you what, sometimes there's bigger things in life than just that pigskin.
It is, man. My feeling is I'm waking up thanking God for the blessings he has put on Damar Hamlin. And no matter what you may believe or what higher power that you seek, that's the one that I do. And I'm feeling blessed, and I'm feeling blessed for him and his family that they get some, I guess relief from the scare that happened on Monday. And that's just where I'm at with it. Just very thankful and very grateful for life.
Amen. I echo those sentiments as well, Brian and Rich. When you look at it in totality, we don't think when we're watching the game as fans that we're going to see and experience something like that. But where it happened, around the amount of people, the amount of medical assistants that were on the field that day, if it was going to happen, it's good that it happened around all the medical assistants that were on not only the Buffalo Bills sidelines, but the Cincinnati Bengals sidelines. So they were there to take care of him. Props to the Buffalo Bills trainer that gave Damar CPR, and he's getting better every day. And I thank God for it. What do you think, Noah?
Yeah, just kind of echo the sentiments here from all of you. And just Damar had the tube taken out, and he was able to FaceTime with teammates and talk to them. So a lot of good news on that front. But like Clint opened the show with, we've also got football being played today. We're kind of getting back to it with the good news that we have on Damar. And there's a little bit of confusion out there on what's going to happen. This one seed is up in the air. And if the Chiefs beat the Raiders today, they're sort of the one seed. They get the bye. But if it is the Bills and the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game, they'll be played at a neutral site, not Indianapolis. That's still kind of remain to be seen here where that's going to be played if it is the Bills and the Chiefs. So a little bit of confusion here, and we'll go through that as we kind of go along.
Right.
Yeah, Shane, I think made some real poignant comments. I think it was yesterday, and just looking through this and trying to do what's fair. I mean, it's a tough situation. It's unprecedented. We're trying to work through this. And as the NFL, I mean, when it comes down to it, you get down to the brass tacks, there's still these playoffs to be played, and there's still, lots at stake here. And that's what we're doing here today. We're talking about the Chiefs going for the one seed against the Raiders. And so that is a factor. That is something that it's in the forefront of a lot of people's minds here as we head into this. And all the Chiefs can do, Shane, is win this game, take over the one seed, and see what happens from there. The NFL and the owners have decided on kind of what's to come, after this. But all the Chiefs can do is win this game, procure the one seed, and see where the playoffs take us from here, Shane.
Agree 100%. I touched on earlier in the week how the situation was unfair to Cincinnati. They didn't benefit from having the game called. I could, if you want me to ask me how I think they should have done it or could have done it, sure. I think they should. This is my opinion. I'm not trying to be heartless, because we took Tuesday off. We didn't do Arrowhead Allies because our prayers were with Damar Hamlin and his well-being. So we didn't speak our opinion then, because nobody should have. We took 48 hours. We took the time off because out of respect for Damar Hamlin. but the NFL should have said this game is going to be played. This is my take. This game is going to be continued where it is Wednesday night at the same spot, and we're going to continue exactly at that moment where the game left off. And they could have flexed the Ravens Bengals game as well as the Patriots Bills game to a triple hitter Monday, coinciding with the national championship game Monday night. They could have done it that way, and they could have continued this game. They should have announced it Tuesday morning or Tuesday sometime that this game will continue Wednesday. But the Buffalo Bills were adamant on leaving and going out of town or going back to Buffalo, and that's understandable. Again, with the COVID in 2020, we saw so many games flex to Tuesday, to Wednesday, to noon starts on Tuesday, to 5 o'clock starts on Wednesday. We've seen the NFL flex the schedules to get these games in, and I'm not being heartless when I say they should have got the game in. It would have answered a lot more, and it would have been a lot more fair to Cincinnati because of that. What's your take, Rich, on that?
Well, I thought the rules were, it was already set in stone that if a bizarre situation that this is, I mean, nobody could ever imagine anything like this happening in an NFL season. At the time of the season, the end, the last week, I thought it was all went down to winning percentages. So wherever who won, they got their AFC championship game. Why all of a sudden they instituted this new rule when they didn't have a chance to negotiate it? Where's it? Have they decided on the neutral spot yet on this? I mean,
no.
I just think that they had something in place. Why did they have to bring changes in like this? I'm not really sure. I don't know all the background guys, but I'd have to agree with you, Shaggy. I think maybe what they were looking at is they were thinking that the critical situation the young man was still in, it was touch and go. They felt like, to have the game going on and something would have happened to the young man. The game was Wednesday. I thought Wednesday would be perfect. Yeah. But I think at that time it was still touch and go with him. And so I think the NFL was looking at just the PR that if you're in the middle of a football game and something would have gone not the way we wanted, where did the NFL look? So I thought, if anything, they tried to do the game next week or something, just move the playoffs, do whatever you have to, because I agree with you. Cincinnati's going to, you just don't know when you're going to go back. You just don't know. I mean, you never know from year to year. You never know what the team's going to be. So it's frustrating, and it's not a happy scenario for anyone. Let's put it that way, except maybe for the Chiefs right now. Getting them to win today, the number 1 seed, right? So it's just a tough situation.
Brian, are you cool with kind of how it's
in a no-win position?
I mean, I think the NFL did the best that they could with the scenarios that are out right now. But I disagree with Shane though. I'm looking at it from the NFL point of view, and we all know that everybody on social media is going to be talking about player safety, player health. Rightfully so. It should be discussed. But we know that it would be amplified, with what happened on Monday night. And there was no way they were going to make those players go out and play that game again.
Not Monday, Wednesday.
I mean, not I don't think at all. I mean, with the chatter, it's just the chatter that's going on, and it's just not the best look from a PR standpoint when a player almost died on the field, and you're talking about forcing these players to, let's talk about trauma, going back to the scene of the crime, for lack of a better term.
Brian,
that's one thing, and then yes, sir.
To cut you short, the young man died twice. They had to revitalize him twice. He was gone. So at that time, when you were dealing with a young man in that situation where he had to be revitalized, I agree with you. There was just no way the NFL, until this young man, there was no way they could even think about playing the game. I just don't think. Okay. I get it.
No way. Yeah.
It would have been an impossibility.
Yeah. And I'm looking at it from that point of view, and the PR. And look at it. I mean, is it the right thing to do? Capitalism can't always win, and the only reason that I feel like the NFL heads would have even tried to even force that game being played and week 18 being played is that, look, we got money to make. You know, he seems to be doing fine. He's okay. Like, they couldn't have done that. And it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do, to just let it be and figure something else out. And I thought they, you know, neutral site game or whatever, I think everybody should be totally understanding in how the NFL did what they needed to do.
Well, I think the problem comes in with that they had it in the CBA, the collective bargaining agreement, that if something strange happens in a season where a game can't be played or whatever, it goes to winning percentage. And then all of a sudden, no, it's not winning percentage. It's this neutral site game, and just craziness abound. And if the Chiefs and Bills lose and the Bengals, then there's still a neutral site game possibility with the Chiefs and the Bengals and the Bills. And so it should have just gone down to winning percentage. Chiefs should be the 1 seed. That's what the Bengals are upset about, with a possible coin toss to see if they or the Ravens get to host the playoff game. So there's just way too much confusion and craziness when this could have been avoided with just simple following their own rules that they collective bargained.
Yeah, but I don't think that look, man, I think everything changes when we're talking about life and death. And it wouldn't have been fair to the Bills to make them go out and play that game again, or to, you know, count it as a loss or a tie or whatever scenario that people are coming up with. I just think everything changes when we're talking about, like, that was the nightmare that the NFL have always wanted to avoid, was to avoid having not a serious injury, but a life-threatening injury on the field in front of everybody to see in the biggest regular season game of the year. It just changed with life and death for me. All of that stuff went out the window.
Agree. And that's understandable. And if you look back at the final week of the 1997 season, where Barry Sanders passed Eric Dickerson's single season rushing record, I do believe. And in that game, in the third quarter of that game, the Jets needed to win that game to clinch the final playoff spot. The Detroit Lions linebacker suffered an injury where he needed CPR on the field, and that game was stopped. While they gave him CPR, they got him in the ambulance and he left, and that game continued. Right, wrong, or indifferent, I'm not trying to be heartless with the situation that took place Monday. I'm just saying, if that game was stopped right there, I mean, just for stat wise, just for record wise, Barry Sanders doesn't pass Eric Dickerson for 2,000 yards. And if they would have went by the scoreboard, the Jets would have got the final playoff spot from 1997. That's just an historical view on it. That's not what I was saying should have happened. I'm just saying, if you look at players that in the NFL history in the last 25 years who had to have CPR on the field, those are the conditions that took place at that time.
Yeah, and just the eyes on it. It's Monday Night Football, a huge game. I mean, guys, here in Kansas City, we do remember 2012. Javon Belcher drove into Arrowhead Stadium, put a bullet in his own head, and that was the day before a game, and we played because it wasn't on film, out of sight, out of mind, and we just keep the show going. Again, like Shane, I'm neither a doctor nor am I an NFL official, so I try to kind of lay out and just let it all play out. So it is what it is, and that's what we have today. The Chiefs are playing football. We're playing football this week in Week 18, and we'll see how things shake out. The Chiefs have to win this game, and let me tell you guys something. This game against the Raiders, we saw Jarrett Stidham come in, throw for 350 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a narrow loss to the San Francisco 49ers, one of the league's best defenses. The Chiefs are an unbelievable 13-1 in their last 16 games, covering the spread against teams with sub 500 records. Guys, this is going to be a war. This is going down to it, and the Chiefs are going to have to show up, or this is going to be all a moot point, because the Chiefs are going to be knocked down a peg if they don't show up and take care of business today. Just my opinion.
It's important for the coaching staff to have this team prepared because of what took place on Monday Night Football. They have to get this team prepared. I'm sure Rich will echo these sentiments of what's at stake. Now that the Chiefs know that they can win this game, if they win this game against the Las Vegas Raiders, their arch rivals, they are the number 1 seed. They get the lone coveted bye. It's paramount that the Chiefs come out on the field today and take care of business, knowing what is at stake. There's no excuse to come out flat. There is no excuse to come out sleepwalking through the first half of this game. They have to be prepared. Jarrett Stidham put film out for the NFL to see. Clint, you said the stats of his game. You know, he has to come out and deliver. He looked like Dan Fouts and Aaron Rodgers in his prime. The Chiefs have to come out. There's game film out on him now. Let's hope that Spagnuolo can come up with a scheme to slow down Jarrett Stidham and his tendencies that he put out on film last Sunday. What do you think, Brian?
Yeah, man. I think that the young guys in the secondary needs to continue to lock in. They've been pretty darn good over the past several weeks. Had a couple of hiccups against Denver last week, but be that as it may,
couple, yeah.
I'm looking for the turnover margin. That's my biggest thing going into this thing. When the Chiefs don't turn the ball over, you get to see at least an A- effort from the entire team. I just hate that these turnovers, the Kadarius Toney punt return fumble last week, keeping Denver in the game, the 3 interceptions, the matchup with Denver before. I'm just tired of the turnovers, and I'm just looking for people to button up today. The turnovers, the penalties. All right. We gotta smooth all of that out before we face the Chargers, before we face the Bengals. Because you turn the ball over against the Bills or the Bengals or one of those guys, you're gonna fall behind. And the Chiefs really got to cross the T's and dot the I's today, man. Just come up with a button up. I want to see the first 15 coming out and being smoothly executed. No missed routes, no holding penalties. I just want to see some well-executed football from the Chiefs today.
Oh, I'd have to echo that. I mean, guys, you can't say any better than what you have so far. I think then you look at the Chiefs at -5 in the turnover column. The last time they were this bad was 2014. They didn't make the playoffs that year.
Yeah.
So it is
no touchdown to a receiver year.
Yep.
Yeah.
You got to go Andy's second year. And so he knows it. They've got to be able to take care of the football. You just can't have the turnovers. But in for big picture thing, I think you have to just start on special teams. Don't we just need to get this thing going? And the problem with holding the football and the extra points, field goals, I mean, the punt return, is there anybody, can we just not get this solidified? Special teams is one area you would think by now is solid like concrete, but yet for the Chiefs, it's going down the pipeline. This is an issue, and this is what scares me. Turnover margin and special teams. Because you shorten the field on any of these opponents you have in the playoffs, it's going to be a nightmare because all of them possessed with great quarterbacks, great receivers, highly explosive plays. You give them a shortened field, it can be a long afternoon for the Kansas City Chiefs. So I say let's start there first. Let's get that sewn up. Let's get care of that. Hold on to the pigskin, make it part of your skin, and we won't have the issues. But that's where they need to be, because even if they start out cold, slow, whatever, balanced, unbalanced offense, you turn the football over, it turns into an ugly afternoon. And believe me, the Raiders are going to come to play because these guys know a lot of changes are going to take place. New quarterback coming in, coachings, everything's going to change. Probably new defensive coordinator out there. Yeah. This guy Graham's probably going to get fired from the Raiders. So when you're a player, all you can do is take care of yourself. So believe me, they're going to bring it. And I know the Raiders haven't been perfect all year, but when your life's on the line, you're going to do what you got to do. And today, I think the Raiders bring that type of attitude.
Well, if we don't like Kadarius Toney at punt returner, I don't know what we do. Tamarick Vanover's not walking through that door. Dante Hall's not walking through that door. Obviously, we've talked
about
about
Terrence Copper.
No. Eddie Drummond, anyone? Can I offer anyone Eddie Drummond? No.
Bobby Wade?
Just let it, just nobody back there. Just take the freaking, let it bounce around and take the ball with number 15 in offense and go.
But Sky Moore and McCole Hardman aren't walking through that door either. Both inactive today. We thought maybe we'd see McCole. No, not again. I guess we're just saving that secret weapon like Chris Wilson was for the playoffs. McCole Hardman and Kadarius Toney on the field at the same time. When will we see it? Hopefully in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah. We got number 14 available for Ed Podolak. We can let him carry the rock. How about that?
Who's going to take the spot? Who's taking that final spot? If Sky Moore and McCole isn't active, I know it's going to be
Watson,
Juju, MVS, Justin Watson. There's got to be a couple
Smith
of
Marset, I think, was activated.
Who?
Smith Marset.
Yeah.
Was he activated?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's number 82, I think. So okay, well, we'll see what happens, how that goes there. For special teams, Kadarius Toney, I'm not going to. You may think I'm defending him because I got his jersey up over my left shoulder, but on his fumble last week on the punt, he was trying to get more yards. Sky Moore didn't look like he wants to catch the punt, but like I said, just have Justin Watson out there and take a fair catch, and we'll continue the drive with Patrick. We don't need to be heroes on.
Well, I worry about Kadarius Toney when you got the ball in your left hand when it should be on your right on the outside when you're going to the right. So right then and there, his focus isn't where it should be. You're thinking about other things with the ball. It's not being carried in the right arm. So I just can't say. That's the frustrating thing about this. Tyreek Hill leaving this team, and special teams have just fallen from grace. when Tyreek was back there, we always knew there was a possibility of a special play. Right now, we're hoping if we could just get the play done without a major mishap. So something the Chiefs are going to have to address this year in the offseason, because it's for this team, for how many years with Tyreek we had, it was always a special moment. Not now.
Yeah, and special teams look like Harrison Bucker's going to give it a go. He came out in full uniform. He went out for warm-ups along with Justin Reed kicking and Matthew Wright, who they elevated off their practice squad, just signed him this week and then elevated him in case Bucker wasn't ready to go. But it sounds like he's going to give it a go. And then to go to the comments here, Chiefs guy says, Frank Clark going to be a sack machine today? That would be a surprise because we haven't seen it for years.
Well, he had the big turnover in the Denver game. He got the strip, we got the ball, and we end up going. So, this is a thing, the area the Chiefs are going to address in the offseason. And believe me, the Raiders have got the same issues too. You got Crosby over there, and that's it. Clint Farrell hasn't done what he did. He said he was going to do coming out of Clemson. So this is an issue for a lot of teams in terms of getting the depth at that pass rushing position. You got to have a good rotation of 8 or 9 guys. Right now, Chris Jones, where he's going to be in the offseason with his money, a lot of question marks for Kansas City Chiefs. But, I just think that there's more guys you can use. I think the Chiefs have done some good things in terms of some of the way they're bringing linebackers up in the gaps and creating some issues. I think you're going to have to continue to do that going into the playoffs. Because if you think you're going to go play the Chargers or Cincinnati and just sit back there and not put any pressure on quarterbacks, it's going to be a long afternoon.
Well, can you imagine this team without Chris Jones, Rich? Lord. Oh, no.
Well, we can decipher what the Chiefs are going to do in the offseason. For specifics, I like how the game ended on defense last week. We did not see it all this year. Steve Spagnuolo show a blitz pattern where it featured Trent McDuffie on the right and
Shaggy, wait a second.
Reed on the left.
You can't tell me you almost didn't have a heart attack last week when Chris Jones body slams. And I'm thinking, how many
Russell Wilson?
How many yellow flags is he going to get today if he does that?
Right. He'll get a lot. Hopefully he doesn't do that today. I know what you mean, Rich. I was scared, and I thank God there wasn't a flag thrown.
But do we call it in the grasp anymore?
How is that not a flag?
So this year. Russell Wilson at least twice was in the grasp by the letter of the rule, and that Chris Jones did not know what to do with the man's body because we're not calling in the grasp.
It's all up to because he's waiting on the ref. It's all up to the ref at that point. If Chris Jones has it,
specifically
get him on the ground.
Specifically to scheming, though, for this game, I hope we continue to see new things like Trent McDuffie for blitzing from one side and Justin Reed from the other, because it gave one-on-one to Chris Jones, who stopped the play for the final game-ending sack on 4th and 2. So maybe let's hope Spagnuolo's got some more up his sleeve if Frank Clark and Carlos Dunlap and the rest of the defensive line aren't getting the necessary pressure. That's what's going to need to
getting
win
those
today.
Linebackers up in the A gap. We saw that a couple times with Gay getting in there, and you start running all those games and in and out. And I said, as a former lineman, I think last week we saw that in Seattle game, the situation where they miscommunicated on who's the down lineman, who's the rusher, end up getting pressure. So it does work. You have to do it. You've got to make these people think, and hopefully you get them off base, and that's where you get your sack.
Let's do it.
Yeah, and it sounds like we've seen more Trent McDuffie in the slot because they're starting to listen to guys like me saying Snead needs to be out there on the best receiver, and so that's what they're doing. They're having him follow around guys, probably be following around Devontae Adams today, and that's where you're seeing more Trent McDuffie in the slot taking over the L'Jarius Snead utility knife role, being put wherever he needs. And you saw him blitz, and he had some success dipping under the tackle there and getting close to the quarterback. And then Chris Jones was able to get home.
Just one thing that I'm concerned about that we have not discussed today. Max Crosby against Andrew Wiley.
Andrew Wiley got him last year. Andrew Wiley addressed him last year. He's got to do it again at the same field in Vegas Stadium. You're right, Brian. There is
ready, yeah.
But Andrew Wiley stood up against Max Crosby well last year in the Chiefs' 41-20 win, and I think it was a score in Vegas. So he's got to do it again. He has to do it again.
Yeah, because on Monday night, Shane, I was there for that ass kicking that Max Crosby put on Andrew Wiley. It was terrible. He has to step up, man, because week before the playoffs, can't afford for anything to happen to 15. So that's a matchup that I'm going to have my eye keened on.
Good point.
Well, you mentioned 15 there. He's going for some records. He should have the MVP sewn up. with the numbers that he's putting up, and he's got a chance, a long shot here at Peyton Manning's season passing yards in 2013, 5,477. He needs 430 yards to surpass that. I doubt he gets there, but he can and will get to 186 total yards to surpass Drew Brees' record of 5,562 total yards in 2011. I didn't really know that was a stat until Mahomes was coming up on this, but it's out there, and it looks like he should pass it today, barring any unforeseen circumstances.
I don't know, man. I don't count stats after week 17.
I also agree with that.
From 1978 to 2020, there was 6. We played 16 games in 17 weeks. The stats cut off after last week. To me, this is not real. This is not Madden football. I'm sorry, Brian. No offense.
Which means he was 1 yard short of. He was 1 yard short of tying his record passing yardage in a season, which he did in his rookie season of 5,049, because he has 5,048 this year in 16 games. He's a yard short.
Rich, are stats overblown here with this extra week and extra playoff teams, and I don't even take him seriously anymore.
Well, all I know is Peyton Manning didn't lose Marvin Harrison in the middle of his career. Had him for how many years? We lost a guy, Tyreek. I mean, he's not bad. The guy down in Miami, he's not bad. He still runs pretty fast. I mean, wouldn't be bad to have him out there in the field right now. So
yeah.
So he could gather. And I have to agree with you, Clint. These seasons are getting so long now in so many games and in the playoffs. I mean, I don't know if stats, but I just look at quarterbacks, just find a way to win football games. Yes. And that's what you got to, why I think Patrick's my MVP. He just finds a way to do it, scrambling, where he's got to throw the ball. We know he's had some turnovers, but we know this guy's fighting to the very end. He's got a brain that never quits. He's got a heart of 1,000 men. And, that's what it's all about, being a leader. You're going to lay it on the line. You got to do whatever you got to do. If he's got to lay it out and do a Barishnikov on the sideline to score a touchdown, he's going to do it. So I love the guy for that. And that's where, as a player, when you see a guy give you effort like that, you got to be 10 times better, because he's going to expect it. That's why
if Patrick Mahomes has to pass for 430 yards today, that means it's a high-scoring game. It's going to be like 42-38. I don't want to see that. I just want to get the win. And with Sky Moore and McCole Hardman inactive for today's game, I think that may hinder Andy Reid flirting with, I'd really like to get my quarterback 430 yards passing. So I think the Chiefs as a whole will just be focusing on winning the game. What do you think, Brian?
Yeah, Clint, you got to progress, man. Come on. I like to stay in the time machine and go back too, but does that mean that
good in here?
Does that mean that all the 14 game stats, that quarterbacks had, like Joe Namath and Lynn Dawson, does that mean they're null and void and they shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame? No, we just got to look at everything in its context and make sure that we're right about the facts. And the facts is that Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the National Football League, because other teams have an opportunity and other quarterbacks have an opportunity to pass for over 5,000 yards, and they're not doing it like he's doing it. So,
there.
Yeah, I'll take the stats. I'll give them all to me. All right, pat him up a stat for Patrick. I want to see him throw for 100,000 yards in his career. That's my goal for Patrick Mahomes.
I love it.
Well, speaking of stats, and before we get to Rich's keys to the game and then our predictions, got to tip a cap to 3 Hall of Fame finalists.
What was your favorite Darrelle Revis moment in Kansas City?
When we signed him.
Albert Lewis, love it. Props to all 3. We had Jared Allen on our show last year, back in the summertime, to talk about how his level of disappointment was not very high for not being chosen just last year. He was up for it last year, so we're gonna get Jared Allen in, and hope for the other ones as well. So that's great to see.
I love Jared Allen. I loved him for the fact that he wore a number that nobody really likes in football, like 69. Like he when I think of that number, well, other people think of other things, but I think of Jared Allen when I think of that number 69.
Yeah. Yeah.
If he goes in, if he goes in, he's going to go in a Viking. So I'm sure he'll give Chiefs Kingdom's kudos as well. But I'd like Albert Lewis, a 3rd-round draft pick out of Grambling in 1983, who just grew and grew every single season. He loved to play special teams. I mean, you don't see that today. Did we ever see Deion Sanders trying to block punts? No. we saw him, of course, Deion Sanders try to return punts. But my point is, he got Albert Lewis, in my opinion, as a fan, observing his entire career as a Kansas City Chief. Albert Lewis wasn't afraid to do the dirty work, and the dirty work was to play special teams, to get in there and block all those punts, as well as being a fantastic cornerback. What do you think, Rich?
Well, I'll tell you what, we used to practice all the time with Albert. They would run stunts up there and punt return and things, and trying to get him up the middle of the lane because he could cover so much ground to block kicks. We always thought he should be a pass rusher next to Derek Thomas. We didn't think there was a combination that could block those two in the National Football League. But there was a guy that, Jared Allen, I just look at him and I think of Max Crosby. Max Crosby, a 4th-round pick. Nobody ever thought he was going to be what he's getting. He overcame a lot in his personal life to become the player that he is right now. And now the whole Raider organization's trying to find the next Max Crosby to put on the field. So Jared Allen came in. He's a guy, they didn't even know where he was going to fit on this team, but yet, Hall of Fame career. So those are the type of guys I always respect. Because in the National Football League, the first thing you got to learn, and don't give a damn what you did in college or what university or what coach you had. When you come in the NFL, you're walking into a different planet, and you better learn how to play the game. And Jared Allen did that. Albert Lewis did that. And just so many guys. And that's why I always look to people like that as my heroes, or just a guy to, emulate, because they knew what it took to get done, and they brought the attitude every day.
Yeah, and we got about 7 minutes till kickoff here, so let's get into your keys to victory, Rich.
Well, I'll tell you what, guys, starting on offense, I think last week we saw McKinnon down there on the trip side, and we end up catching that touchdown with the little rub route. I want to continue to see that. I thought today with McCole Hardman, I thought was going to be out there in the field. I thought him, Kadarius Toney, anybody else out there in a bunch formation with those two guys, and just seeing how it would confuse the defense. How would they handle this in a breakout? So continue with it, Andy. Bring the different personnel groupings. Let's make these defense cover side to side and vertical. Challenge them to make sure they get the people in the right positions. If not, every one of our offensive skill people can make a play. And on the defense, guys, I did secondary. I know we've done better, but today I want to shine. Listen, Steedham's going to come in. They're going to let him throw the ball. Let's bring this guy back down to earth and come away with some major picks. Let's not let Adams finish up with a great year. Let's make it quickly into a one-sided game. Secondary, we're going to need you in the playoffs. Let's start today.
Amen.
Yeah, and then you got the team goal down there, -5 sucks. You mentioned that earlier, our turnover differential, and we need to make hay on that and take the ball away, like you're saying, with all those picks, and not turn the ball over for a rare time this season.
Well, only 10 out of 11 games. 10 out of our last 11, there's been a turnover. So your smart money is going to be on a turnover out there. And I'm going to tell you this, Shane, you've been talking about it. You had a tie predicted early in the season. We've talked about it all year. It hasn't come to fruition yet. Hopefully today's not that day. No. Noah, you said the Chiefs would beat the 2007 Patriots or the 2008 Lions 28-27. So I'm just going to steal that one out from under you. Chiefs 28, Raiders 27, Chiefs 1 seed, and we move on to the NFL playoffs.
What do you got, Shane?
I think the Kansas City Chiefs have waited all offseason to be who they are, who the world knows they are, a number 1 seed, the team to beat in the AFC. They know what is at stake today, the coaching staff and the players. Regardless of Jarrett Stidham looked like Dan Fouts in his prime last week, they know what's at stake. They know what they have to do. The Raiders will come out, and they will be the Raiders. They will put up a challenge. They will put up a fight. But the Chiefs have too much to gain by winning this game today. Mentally, they know it. Physically, they know what they have to do. And emotionally, they know where they want to be 3.5 hours from now. There's too much to gain. That bye is extremely coveted. It falls upon the feet of Andy Reid to have this team prepared, to know what they have to do when they go out on the field for this game. What you got, Brian?
Like I said earlier, just trying to look for a well-executed football team. I don't need big splash plays. It would be nice. But I want to see Pacheco running the ball, getting 5 yards per carry like he's been doing in the season. No turnovers, looking for good blocking. Looking for, of course, the special teams to come out and not have any miscues, but We're going to have to give a lot of grace to that. And that Dave Taub conversation needs to happen sooner than later. But other than that, man, good play calls, the first 15. I'm like, if the Chiefs don't come out and score a touchdown on their first drive on offense, I will be disappointed. And if the defense don't come out and, stop the Raiders within 8, I'll give them 8 plays. They don't do it within 8 plays, I'll be disappointed. So, but Patrick Mahomes needs to sew up his MVP trophy today, and a nice, comfortable 10-9 point win for the Chiefs. They might just barely cover the spread.
I'm going with Brian. I've got this 30-20, a 10-point victory here for our Chiefs. And before I kick it to you, Rich, like I said, kickoff is looming. I'm just going to say the Chiefs are also going for a sweep of the toughest division in NFL history is what they said before the season. And we're going to sweep it. How is it possible, Rich?
Guys, I'll tell you what, it's getting so close to kickoff time. Usually in my time, I wouldn't even be able to talk right now. But I'll make it short and I'll make it sweet. All I know is they got a running back over there by the name of Josh Jacobs. And they're going to want to hammer us. They want to physically pound us. Well, for the Kansas City Chiefs, what has transpired in the last couple of days is going to put all the pressure in the world because this whole league's going to look at it. Fans, everybody's going to say the Chiefs were given a golden path to the Super Bowl, given the #1 seed because of what transpired. Well, it's up to Kansas City Chiefs to prove that. Shaggy, I have to agree with you. They know it. The Raiders want to come out and shove it down our throats. They want to physically bang us around. I don't think they get it done. I'm going to go ahead with the Chiefs 28-10 today. Big victory for Kansas City Chiefs on to the playoffs.
I love it. And if we're going to be the NFL's new villain because they think we got handed the 1 seed, all I have to say is don't sing it, bring it.
Hey.
Go Chiefs.
Chiefs.
Happy birthday.